sounds so nice, doesn't it? Hey everyone, PianoManChuck here. I am here today again with the PX-560 from Casio. This was introduced in 2015, and to date, this has been my gigging keyboard since 2015. Why? Because I haven't really found anything to replace this with that has all the same features as this does in that price category. Casio was well ahead of their time when they introduced this, and they haven't had anything since this was released. And I've been looking at all kinds of other brands to replace this with no luck. This PX560 has filled everything for me as far as when I'm with a band playing keyboards. Now, when I'm doing solo piano, that's different. But let's talk about this, because for band work, nothing beats this as far as I'm concerned. And again, this was introduced in 2015. It's been my gigging keyboard ever since. And as you heard, it's got a great sounding Steinway piano. And what's great about this, let's go over some of the features that are really great compared to some of the newer offerings by some of the other brands. Now, you can see here clearly labeled in white what the I/O is on the back panel. And you don't see that on a lot of boards today. And especially on the back panel, that's also labeled in white. The new Casios, as well as some of the other brands like Roland, you'll see it all in black with indented labels on the back, and it's black, and it's hard to read. And you're going to have to go to the back to read what they are. And these are on top, so that's another advantage right there. The ability to play into a key. Usually, the closer to the fallboard you get, the more effort you're going to have to make to play that key. Not so with this. Whether I'm playing here or into the fallboard, it's really effortless. I love that about this. You don't get that with really even the newer Casios. It's a little bit more of an effort to play into the fallboard. Now you got a 4.3-inch color touchscreen, which is really cool. 8 years later, you haven't seen that until Kurzweil came out with their Kurzweil SP7. Also a 4.3-inch touchscreen. And I was considering that to replace this with. I'll get into that a little bit later, why I still went with the Casio. Now, I can basically fly all over this board with this 4.3-inch touchscreen and the way it's laid out. I mean, look at this. You got tones, and then you got the 4 tones you can layer this with. And you might think that because there's 4 tones, you can do 4 layers. Well, one of the tones, or all of the tones, whichever you prefer, can be a hex layer tone. And a hex layer tone consists of 6 individual tones. While it's considered one tone, it is comprised of 6 tones. So, if you used 4 tones, each one of them being a hex layer, you can layer up to 24 different tones with that. How cool is that? And it doesn't end there. With each hex layer, each tone within has its own set of parameters, like what part of the keyboard is it going to be? Is it going to be the whole keyboard? Is it going to be a part of the keyboard here, here, or here, wherever you choose to have it? Panning. Is it going to be on the right? Is it going to be on the left? Is it going to be in the middle? There is so many things to it. You can even trigger this with, let's say, I don't want the sound of a particular tone in a hex tone to trigger until I lift my key off. Some will be triggered when I put the key on, others when I put it off. Others yet when I hit it with a certain velocity. If I hit it softly or hardly, then it's going to be triggered. There's so many things to a hex tone. I love that. I haven't found that really in other boards at this price range. And while it has speakers, it also has the ability to turn the speakers on or off at any time. So unlike other brands where you plug in a headphone that shuts off the speakers, you can choose to have the headphones and the speakers at the same time. And this also has workstation type capabilities. You can record up to 16 tracks separately, and a lot of other keyboards out there can't even record one track at this point. And if they do, how for recording, it's 1, 2, maybe 3 tracks. This is 16. It's so cool. It also has synthesizer capabilities as well, so you can create your own sounds from raw sounds like square waves, triangle waves, sine waves, and so on. And as far as the recorder goes, you can record in both audio or MIDI formats. The choice is yours. I use this as a scratch pad to record stuff with that I can later develop later on. The pitch bend and modulation wheels are right here to the left of the keys, and they're not these big, huge things like some of these keyboards offer. It's these two wheels right here, and basically they're enough to get you going. You don't need those big, huge wheels that take up room and take up more length of your keyboard such that you can't even get it in your car. This one is perfect. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the PX-560. I have been for 8 years. But really, don't take my word for it. Look at the reviews everywhere on the internet. They're all going to be positive. I've been looking for a replacement for this for 8 years because basically this is getting older and I like something a little bit more modern, a little bit more newer. And I still cannot find anything close to this. It's just amazing how a keyboard from 2015 still puts keyboards today to shame. I've been looking seriously at things like the Roland RD88, which is an excellent keyboard. I gave it positive reviews. Excellent. I was seriously considering using that instead of this. But bottom line, it didn't have a music rest. I know it's small, but that was important to me. Because with a music rest, I can place a cell phone or a tablet on there, and I can't do that with the Roland. The other problem with the Roland, I could only layer 3 sounds or 3 tones. That's it. With this, up to 24. And the Roland did not have a jog wheel like this does. Makes things so much faster, simpler, and easier. Also, the new Kurzweil SP7 came out, and that was also a real contender for this. You know, it offered up to 16 layers, which is really cool. It was about the same price range of this, which is also really cool. It had a great touchscreen. The SP7 had a 4.3-inch touchscreen, same size as this. But the one thing that turned me off about it, it didn't have any recording capability. So right away, that became not a contender at that point. I really need the recording because I do a lot of scratch pad stuff. Something that comes to mind, I want to be able to record it right away and work on it later. Couldn't do that with the Kurzweil. And anything else that might be considered worthwhile would cost a lot more, so those were out too. So until something comes out that can come close to or exceed the capabilities of the PX-560 in its price range, I'll be sticking with it and continue to recommend it while it's still available. Now, I'll be putting a link in the description to my PX-560 playlist. There's a lot of videos I did that covers the PX-560, so check that out. You'll check it out more where I do an overview review of it. You'll find more of its capabilities. But again, this touchscreen is just so cool. You got the categories, the tone where you can choose your 4 tones. Each one of these can be a regular tone or a hex tone, which covers 6 different tones in one tone. And it's real easy to get from one place to another. Rhythm, you got all kinds of rhythm here. Balance, for all the upper one volume, lower one volume, keyboard volume, MIDI volume, audio volume, line and volume, upper two, and so on and so forth. Effects, you've got your own screen for this. Like, let's say you want to go to the reverb effects. Not only can you choose what reverb type, there's a whole bunch. This is one of 2 pages of reverbs that you can use. But then all the different parameters for whatever reverb type you choose. Time, early reflection, high damp, tone, return, and so on. Then there's the MIDI recorder, the audio recorder, music presets, system settings. And this is page 1 of 3. And then there's another page here. You got controller settings, mixer setting. Look at the mixer. You've got control of up to 16 different sounds all at the same time. Then there's the MIDI control. There's a lot of different. This is 1 page of 2. Media. I don't have a USB stick in here, but otherwise I get the media menu. The arpeggiator, a lot of control over the arpeggiator that you choose to happen. Registrations, where you can save your own stuff and set all kinds of parameters for that. And finally, a 4-band equalizer as well. There's a lot more stuff for this too, as well as a graphic display of your audio envelope. You know, your attack, decay, sustain, release. You have a graphic display where you can use that with. This is just so amazing. And despite my comparing this to much newer boards, it just doesn't come close. I still use this for my gigs with a band. So, it's still a deal. It still goes for $1,299 US dollars. That's $1,299 US. As a professional gigging pianist, I can tell you, this is still my choice for gigs with a band. So, while you can still get this, go through me and get this at a really good price. You won't be disappointed. This thing still rocks, and it's still Casio's flagship Pro line keyboard. As far as piano, solo piano goes, the PXS 7000, 6000, 5000, the 7000 is their flagship. But for band work, this is it. So, PianoManChuck, hope this has been helpful. Peace out. Thanks for watching.